Hello, and welcome to this channel. It's a few months to the 2020 Olympics to be held in Tokyo, and we bring you exciting facts and figures surrounding this year's Olympiad. So stay tuned and don't move a muscle. Before we set the ball rolling, we invite you to subscribe to this channel if you have not done so, and to turn on the notifications icon so that you can receive alerts and new videos we upload. Now, without further ado, let's get started. The Olympic spirit is here again, and there's nothing stopping it, not even the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2019, at the start of the global pandemic, there were growing concerns over the safety of athletes and everyone involved should the Olympics go on in 2020 as planned. After a lot of deliberations, the conclusion was finally reached to postpone the Games to this year, 2021. This announcement brought back the joy, smiles, and euphoria that usually characterize the spirit of the Olympics. The Olympics is scheduled to begin in July, with the opening ceremony kicking off on Friday, 23rd July. The Games should be brought to an end in August, with the closing ceremony taking place on Sunday, August 8th. Over 200 countries are expected to participate in this year's global spectacle. There are almost 400 sporting events in 33 sports and 50 disciplines. The global showpiece will witness over 11,000 athletes display their prowess in their chosen field and compete against worthy opponents. The best will walk away with gold, and the worst will go back home bold and with their shoulders held high, for they have had the rare opportunity to compete in one of the biggest global showpieces. The Games would be opened by the Emperor of Japan, Emperor Naruhito, and organized under the auspices of the International Olympic Committee. Investment in the Games. The Tokyo government has reportedly invested close to $4 billion in the hosting of the 32nd Olympiad. The government also pumped about $1 billion into the renovation of the Olympic Stadium, which hosted the 1964 Olympic Games. The venue has a sitting capacity of 68,000 seats and would host both the opening and closing ceremonies. The transportation system in Tokyo has also seen major improvements, with a new railway line being constructed from the Haneda International Airport to Narita International Airport through Tokyo Station. This railway line would significantly cut down the time it takes to travel from Tokyo Station to both airports. According to reports, the railway line would cost around $3.6 billion. Another railway line would be constructed from Tamachi to the Haneda Airport. In total, Japan is expected to spend a total of about $25 billion in preparation for the events. Part of the estimated budget would go into the construction of 11 new venues for the global competition. COVID-19 protocols. In preparation for the global showpiece, the governing body of the Olympics has introduced measures to help stop the spread of COVID-19 and to keep the athletes safe. Some of the measures include the standard COVID-19 protocols, like washing of hands, social distancing, wearing of face masks, etc. Other measures include heavily restricting the movement of athletes to the event centers and their homes. Rigorous testing of athletes would be conducted every 4 days to ensure safety during the Games. There would be no excessive celebration, as that may lead to the spread of the virus. If any athlete tests positive, he or she would be quarantined in a government facility, including anyone who is deemed to have come in contact with the infected athlete. Some interesting facts. Believe it or not, this year's Olympics is special for many reasons. For starters, it's the first Olympic Games to be rescheduled to a later date, instead of outright cancellation. The Games were originally scheduled to be held in March of last year, but were postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the start of the modern Olympics, about 4 of them have been canceled for various reasons. However, contrary to popular opinion and expectations, the Tokyo Olympics wasn't canceled, but rescheduled. The first time ever in the history of the Olympics. Another interesting fact is that though the Olympics would be held this year, 2021, it still retains its name from last year, which is Tokyo 2020. Can you guess why the name wasn't changed to Tokyo 2021? Do you need a hint? It has nothing to do with COVID-19. Okay, let me help you out. It has everything to do with the business side of the whole sporting event. That is, branding and marketing. So yes, though it is being held in 2021, it will still maintain the name Tokyo 2020. The next interesting fact is that foreign visitors and spectators would not be allowed at the event. So if you're thinking of packing your baggage and heading to Tokyo for the Games, you might want to reconsider. As we speak, Japan has closed its borders owing to the coronavirus. Initially, the borders were opened on March 21st this year, but have been closed again due to the pressure on the country's healthcare system. So the summary of it all is that you can root for your team in the comfort of your home, behind your TV screen. The spectators will be local Japanese. How is that for bias? I mean, imagine a Japanese athlete or team in competition with a team from another country, and all the fans rooting for Japan. Well, you can blame that on the pandemic. New games to be added. Another interesting thing is that this year's edition will witness the addition of 6 new games. These games have met the criteria the Olympics Committee uses to determine which sport to add to the ever-growing list of Olympic Games. Rock climbing. To begin with, there is rock climbing. According to several news outlets, many people have taken to the sport of rock climbing, with about 1,000 people trying it every day in the US alone. The sport will have 3 categories at the Olympics, that is, speed climbing, bouldering, and lead climbing. Yes, Japan has lots of hills and mountains with gorgeous climbing surfaces. But no, they won't be used in this sport. An artificial wall will be used instead. Surfing. The next game added to the Olympics is surfing. Unlike climbing, the surfing competition would be held on natural seas, not artificial ones. Lots of people have made the call for surfing to be added to the Olympics for a long time now. And finally, their calls have been heard. The game would be held at the famous Shita Beach, popularly known as the Chirigasaki Surfing Beach. Skateboarding. Passionate fans of skateboarding will also have something to cheer about in this year's event, as the sport has been added to the Games. This particular sport is bound to be exciting, as many of the best skateboarders around the world have signed up for this event. The competition will be held at the Ariake Urban Sports Park, and it promises to be keenly contested. Karate. Karate enthusiasts are also not left out of the Olympic fever. The International Olympic Committee has decided to add the popular martial arts sports to this year's Olympic Games. There is no more fitting place to add karate to the Olympics than the country where the sport originated. Karate now becomes the 4th sport under the martial arts genre to be added to the Olympics after judo, taekwondo, and wrestling. The event would be held at the Nippon Budokan, an indoor arena, with a sitting capacity of close to 15,000 seats. 3-on-3 basketball. Then there would be the addition of the now famous 3-on-3 basketball competition. The sport, which started as a hobby for friends in the neighborhood, has grown in leaps and bounds over the years, attracting the attention of the Olympic Committee. According to the available stats, it is currently the largest urban team sport in the world. The games would be held at the Aomi Urban Sports Park, with the men and women's games taking place on the same day. You'd be sorely mistaken if you think that the US would run away with gold in this event. 3-on-3 basketball, though similar to regular basketball, is a different ballgame. Countries to look out for include Serbia, Latvia, and Hungary. It promises to be an exciting event. Baseball and softball. Then, finally, after over 10 years of waiting, baseball and softball make their re-entry into the Olympics. They were added in 1996 at the Atlanta Olympics and were played in the subsequent Olympics Games till they were removed in 2012. This is because the 2 sports failed to garner a majority of the votes to help them stay in the competition. However, the 2020 Olympics will see them make their grand comeback. In softball, the US would be locking horns with teams from Japan, Italy, Mexico, Canada, and Australia. In baseball, the US will be competing against Japan, Israel, Mexico, and South Korea for gold. South Korea are the reigning Olympic basketball champions, having beaten Cuba in the final of the competition back in 2008. The US happened to make it to the final of the softball competition at the Olympics in 2008, but were beaten to the prize by the enterprising Japanese. Other facts. The medals for the event will be made from recycled electronics. The local organizing committee, in conjunction with Japan Environmental Sanitation Center and NTT Docomo, Japan's largest mobile phone operator, to collect used phones that would later be used to make the medals. To achieve this, the organizers placed special bins at vantage points in the city, as well as NTT Docomo offices where anyone with a used phone could drop it. It'll interest you to know that this would be the 2nd time Tokyo would be hosting the Summer Olympics, making it the only city in Asia to have achieved that feat. In all, Tokyo would be the 11th country around the world to have twice hosted the Olympics, having previously done so in 1964. Major concern. One major concern of the athletes is the heat during the summer in Japan. The country is known for recording very high temperatures during the summer, and some have wondered the impact the searing heat would have on the athletes. Interestingly, the same issue was raised prior to Japan hosting the 1964 Olympics, which led to the changing of the date from the summer to October. However, that is unlikely to happen this summer. One event which would likely be impeded by the hot temperatures is the triathlon. However, it still would not stop the shine of the global spectacle. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you like it, then hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more interesting videos like this one. Thanks for watching!